Breaking news. Iran v US. Rouhani will defeat anti-Iran White House officials as tensions peak. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has reopened his war of words with US President Donald Trump, vowing his government was ready to defeat what he referred to as the White House plot to defeat his government, and defiantly insisting that his country was not afraid of America. Mr. Rouhani was summoned to the country's parliament for the first time to answer questions on weak economic growth and rising unemployment. The leader claimed the problems were the result of Washington's decision to pull out of the JCPOA deal struck in 2015 with the aim of preventing Iran developing nuclear weapons. The decision, confirmed by Mr. Trump earlier this year, has seen the imposition of tough sanctions targeting Iran's trade in gold and other precious metals, its purchases of US dollars and its car industry. Further sanctions set to come into force in November will be aimed at sales of Iranian oil. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani recent months have seen significant devaluation of Iran's currency, the rial, and public protests on the streets as a result. In a speech broadcast live on state television, Mr. Rouhani said, "I want to assure the Iranian nation that we will not allow the U.S. plot against the Islamic Republic to succeed. We will not let this bunch of anti-Iranians in the White House be able to plot against us. We are not afraid of America or the economic problems. We will overcome the troubles." Mr. Rouhani, a pragmatist who reduced tension with the West by striking a nuclear deal with world powers in 2015, is facing a backlash from hardliners over Washington's pullout from the pact. Hardline elements in the parliament have pressed Mr. Rouhani to reshuffle his economic team to better shield the economy from Mr. Trump's moves and reduce public discontent. Mr. Rouhani said the troubles began with anti-government protests in early January when many Iranians, angered by rising prices, took to the streets, chanting slogans against the government and Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Asking lawmakers to support his cabinet and not add to anti-government sentiment, he said. The protests tempted Trump to withdraw from the nuclear deal. More important than that is that many people have lost their faith in the future of the Islamic Republic and are in doubt about its power. Lawmakers are asking why the government had not adopted reforms in the financial sector and foreign exchange market, and demanded an explanation why, more than 2 years after the nuclear deal, Iranian banks still had only limited access to global financial services. Mr. Rouhani appointed a new central bank governor and accepted the government spokesman's resignation, suggesting that he accepts the need to reshuffle his economic team. However, his answers failed to satisfy lawmakers, according to vote results at the end of the session reported by Tasnim news agency. Relations between Washington and Tehran have been hostile for decades, ever since the Islamic fundamentalist revolution which saw the Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini sweep to power in 1979. Tensions increased after Mr. Trump's decision to pull out of the JCPOA deal, and he and Mr. Rouhani have traded verbal blows ever since. Last month, in a all capital letters tweet, Mr. Trump warned Iran would suffer consequences the likes of which few throughout history have ever suffered before if it threatened the U.S. This was an apparent reference to a speech delivered by Mr. Rouhani days earlier in which he said a conflict between the two nations would be the mother of all wars. Tensions in the region were further stoked by a rocket attack on 2 oil tankers in the Red Sea by Iran-backed Houthi rebels from Yemen, although there is no evidence of direct links between them and Mr. Rouhani's regime.